Can you all see that okay? Yeah, okay. So we are doing a webinar today, which looks a little different, just in case you've done some Zoom workshops with us before. The webinar is a little different because we don't see you on video, but you are very important to us, and we are going to have time for feedback, questions. I miss seeing all of you in person, but we try to make these as interactive as possible through Zoom. So thank you again, Long Beach Unified, for having us today. I'm so excited to talk with parents. Just a little bit about myself. I am a licensed MFT, which is marriage family therapist, and I've worked at ChildNet for 17 years, providing therapy to families in Long Beach Unified and other areas. And I am our community services administrator. So I do our parent workshops and community outreach events, and just honoring all of our amazing partnerships. So in case you haven't heard of ChildNet, we're actually celebrating our 50th year last month in Long Beach. And we do provide free counseling for children ages 0 to 18 that have Medi-Cal insurance. So ChildNet's allowing me to be here and partners. So just wanted to let you know about our agency. I know there's lots of great resources in Long Beach. So I just first of all wanted to start by saying that today we're learning some ideas about parenting. And we're not here to say there's one right way to parent. We're here to give you some tools, to give you some ideas, because we know that parenting is very challenging. And parent workshops are actually one of my favorite things to do. I think one of the reasons is because I'm a parent myself, and my kids are grown now, they're 24 and 20, but all of these tools I'm teaching today, I've used with my own kids and with clients. And if you can utilize a lot of these strategies, you're gonna see great results in your children. So we really want you to have that happy, successful, positive relationship with your kids. And a lot of the tools that we're going to learn today are going to help you with that. So my goal is when a problem behavior comes up, or when a challenge comes up, you go, hey, I have like at least 3 tools that I can pull right now to try to help this situation. So we thought we would start with a poll. And since we can't have you just answer in person, let me pull this up real quick. So the first question is, and if you're able to on your laptop or on your phone, if you can answer the questions. The first one says, what have your biggest parenting challenges been during the pandemic? Or what have been your biggest parenting challenges during the pandemic? Was it helping your child keep up with distance learning? I know that can be really challenging on a daily basis. Increasing emotional needs of my child, or there's been increased, we know mental health symptoms are increasing right now. And so trying to meet those needs of your child. There's also less alone time for you as a parent if your children are home all day. So not getting those little breaks that you used to could be really hard. Just greater stressors overall. We know people are going through job losses. There could be health issues. There's lots of different types of stressors happening in people's lives. So if you could answer which one of those was true for you. And then we will, what's nice is that, and even panelists, if you want to vote, you can too as well. It's up to you. I'm going to check the chat real quick. Okay. Someone said one of the biggest challenges is getting fresh air during co-parenting. Yes, co-parenting during a pandemic, helping kids not be on screens all day. Yes, I think those are some of the biggest challenges. Thank you for sharing that. And then the next question is, what is something you're most proud of as a parent during the pandemic? Because I think it's important as parents, it's so easy for us to think about the things we're not doing well. And well, first of all, just the fact that you're in this workshop shows that you're a great parent, because you're willing to grow, you're willing to learn. And that's, in my opinion, one of the most important things, right? Because none of us are perfect. We all make mistakes, but as long as we're still growing and learning, we can get better and better. So it looks like right now we have about 50% said they've grown closer to their children. So that's great. Another one was, one of the answers might be, I've learned new online platforms, even though they weren't comfortable for me. I know I didn't know anything about Zoom really before this whole pandemic started. And I think a lot of us had some major learning curves, and we've been stepping out of our comfort zone to learn some new things, to try to kind of get through this challenging time. So I give you guys credit for learning new things. I know that that's not easy. Or maybe you've learned to manage new stressors well. You know, maybe I know for myself, I've had to really increase my self-care, and that includes more walks every day, making sure I get, you know, a little more exercise maybe than I was, just because I know that there's those extra stressors. So so great, you guys. It sounds about a quarter of you answered. You've grown closer to your children with that increased time together. So that's wonderful. I know it's not something we all ask for, to be with our families more, but I think a nice side effect can be that we are closer. And it looks like about 50% answered that they've learned these online platforms, even though it wasn't comfortable for them. So great job, you guys. I really appreciate you answering those. And I really appreciate you. And we'll do another poll in a little bit. So, all right. Move to the next slide here. All right. So I wanted to just start by, you know, we're really supposed to praise our kids, but I want to praise you as parents and just tell you, you are enough. You can do this. I know that parenting sometimes feels like, I just don't know if I have the patience. I don't know if I have the skills. I don't know if I have the tools. Just know that that thought is normal and okay. We all have those moments, but I like to put out there those positive affirmations, those thoughts, those sentences that help us remember that we are capable of doing this. And just to tell you, thank you as parents for the work that you're doing for your children. I know that you don't get thanked maybe often enough, and it is important that you get that praise. So I have just a tiny story about this, in that all the good things that you're giving your children, sometimes you don't know if that's going to come back around, or if they're, you know, how you're going to see that make a difference in the world. But my daughter, who's 24, she actually, she goes to college and she works at a restaurant, and she got a really great letter from one of their customers saying that she just makes them feel so good about themselves, and she's a hard worker, and she just benefits the restaurant so much. And it just, even though I know she's an amazing person, it just was really great to see that, and to see the results of all of the efforts that you make when your children are little. So I know that there's many days that you feel like you're working really hard and you're doing all the right things, but you don't know if it's going to really, you know, how much is this going to really, you know, when do I see the results? So just keep going, keep trying. You will see those results. So hang in there. All right. So I wanted to start today. The topic is positive discipline. And, you know, when we hear the word discipline, we often think of kind of the way we might have been raised, where it's focused on punishment. And what we want to do is kind of reframe that thinking a little bit. And it's actually in the dictionary. The definition of discipline is training. It's training that develops self-control and character. So that's our goal. We want our children to have their own self-control and their own character, not something that we're forcing on them through punishment, through fear, through control. I know sometimes it feels easier to use those methods, and it does sometimes create short-term results, but the ultimate end goal is not good. So we want them to develop their own self-control, and that is through training. And that honestly is kind of a lifetime of training. And if you can try to think of it that you are your child's greatest teacher. Everything you do is teaching them how to handle things in the world, how to make, how to handle their emotions. Everything you're doing is teaching them. And you do have a lot of power over what they learn. So, and when you're having those frustrating situations, try to think of yourself as a teacher versus someone trying to control another human being, because we know we can only control ourselves. We can't control other people. Someone, I'm just checking the chat real quick. Thanks for sharing. Some people shared they're dedicating more time to their child, and they said, what age do I start disciplining my child? Okay, so we will definitely get to that, and that's a great question. So you're always training your children from birth. Generally, that first, I would say, year of like 0 to 1, your main job is to love them, to provide them that safety and trust and security, show them lots of love and attention, play with them, take care of them. You're going to gently guide them to stay safe. So what that could look like is if they reach for a hot stove, you're going to gently pull their hand away and say no. Or if they start to run in a street, you're going to gently stop them from harming themselves. So you're gently keeping them safe. We don't recommend any type of physical punishment, any kind of hitting, slapping, spanking, things like that. These other methods you're going to learn work really well, and you won't need to use any of those. There are some negative side effects from spanking and other physical discipline methods. So what we're teaching today is other types. So you're going to have some great tools. All right. And today we're basically covering ages 0 to 18. I know that's a big range, but I think you'll get tools for all those different ages. And then we will have a little time at the end if your child has certain behaviors that you're struggling with or you're not sure how to handle. I'll try to make sure to have a little time at the end to address specific concerns. So wanted to just start with that, reminding everybody that all children have the same spectrum of needs. And on one end of the spectrum, they need that love, they need unconditional acceptance just for who they are, no matter what they do. And then on the other end of the spectrum, they need rules, they need boundaries, they do need to be told no, even though it's not fun to say no, and follow through with that. And the goal is basically to be in the middle here. I don't know if you can see my pointer, but you want to have that good balance of, and I like to talk with my hands, sorry, but you want to have the love and you want to have the boundaries, and your goal is to be in the middle here somewhere. So generally one of these is easier for us than the other, kind of either depending on the way we were raised or maybe just our personality type. Maybe it's easier to set the rules and say no, and then it might be easier for you just to show the love, and it's a lot more challenging for you to say no and set the, follow through on those boundaries. So again, the good news though is that you can get better. And I think once you realize which one is a little bit harder for you, then you can start to work on improving that. So, and there's a lot of families I've worked with where parents are very different too. Maybe the dad's a little more strict and the mom's a little more loving. That's okay. There's no two parents that do it exactly alike, and that's all right, but it's trying to come together and be that nice balance, because children definitely need both. So just think about maybe where you're at on the spectrum, if your line is over to the left a little or a little bit to the right, and that's okay, but your goal is to be in the middle. All right, so, and a great quote to remember when you're parenting is that what we focus on expands. So sometimes parents feel like, wow, I just don't have a lot of like control or power over my children, but you actually do, because your children want your attention more than anything in the world, and they're going to get it either through positive behaviors or through negative behaviors. So what you want to do is try to focus on the positive behaviors that you want. Now, and I'm going to go to the next slide because it's real similar, but it's basically, what behaviors are you noticing in your child with your attention, with your eye contact, with your body language, and with your words? Generally, some of the ways we were raised was ignore children when they're doing what they're supposed to, and then right when they do something wrong, you punish them. So, and I think our parents were doing the best they could, and that was kind of the norm back then. But this other method works really well. So, what you have to do though is notice when they're doing what you want, but you will see those behaviors improve. So, a really great way to do it is to be specific in your praise and not just, oh, you were such a good girl today or good boy. Good is kind of a judgment word. We don't always know exactly what that might mean because that could mean something different to everyone. So the more specific you are, the better. So for example, this is, thank you for helping me set the table tonight without me even asking. Or, wow, I noticed you made the bed today without me mentioning it. That was really great. Maybe they didn't make the bed 6 days, but the 7th day they did. You got to notice it and praise it. It can be, thank you for holding my hand when we walked across the street, because I know that's really going to keep us safe because I don't want you to get hurt. Or it can be, great job sharing your favorite toy with your sister. Maybe they don't like sharing, and sometimes that's kind of normal developmentally, but maybe they do, you notice when they do something very kind for someone else. Children know when their behaviors get noticed, and they're going to be a lot more willing to do those behaviors you like if you praise them and notice those behaviors. So again, this takes practice. It's not easy, but if you're having kind of a bad day with your child, try to notice something positive about them. It could even be a trait that you like. Wow, I love how honest you are with me. Sometimes it might be a little hard to hear, but I really admire that about you. I wish I could be like that. Or it could be, I really admire how hard you're working trying to learn this new online platform. I know you miss your classroom so much and you miss your friends, but I'm really proud of you trying something new. When you praise someone, it just really helps them to relax, to be encouraged to do the right thing even more. So, so let's try to praise as much as we can. And then just to remind you that, yes, children definitely need to learn how to handle the word no. It is not their favorite word, just like we don't like the word no. So really think about your no's, because once you do say no, you don't want to give in to those tantrums and the frequent arguing. Children are very smart. And if they learn that if I argue with mom long enough, she's going to give in, or dad, they figure that out very quickly, and then they just keep doing that same behavior. So really think about your no's. If you're in line at the grocery store and they want that candy bar and you absolutely don't want them to have it, you're going to say, no, I understand that you really want it. It does look good, but we're having dinner shortly. So, and if they start whining or crying or saying things to you, you can't give in to that. So you got to make sure that once you say no, that you stick with that. We do try to say no for important behaviors like hitting or biting, running in the street, because sometimes we overuse no, depending on the age group. I think it's toddlers hear around 200 no's per day. And again, I know I don't love hearing no. It's not a fun word for someone to tell me. But so we can try to avoid overusing it. We can say yes, but it can be a conditional yes. Like, yes, you may have a cookie right after we finish lunch. So anytime you can make that no a yes is great. Now, if you are very careful with your energy and attention that you put onto children, including your tone of voice, when you do say a no, they are going to know the difference. So if you are mostly praising, you're, really noticing all the good things they're doing, you're, having that positive tone with them. When you do say no, they're going to notice that change in tone, and they're going to know that that's not an okay thing to do. So yes, there's going to be times kids choose not to do the right thing, and just like all of us, and we'll get to some ideas on that. All right, just a couple reminders. Everybody makes mistakes, including us. And it is important to let a child know it's okay to make mistakes. When we punish every single time someone does something wrong, it really takes away some of that self-confidence and creates anxiety. And so what we want to do is let them know it's okay to make mistakes. You're not always going to be free from the consequences of those mistakes, but tell them, you know what, that's okay. That's how we learn. I believe you can do better next time. And it's really important not to shame them for those mistakes. So the great news about not making them feel bad about mistakes is that they're much more willing to talk to you about it. I love when my kids will say, Mom, I did this thing and it just didn't go well and I was so embarrassed and gosh, I shouldn't have done that. And you know, I could easily make them feel worse about it, but I really, really try to say, you know what, that's you're learning and you're growing. And that's, you know, yeah, I've made that same mistake too. And that's hard, you know, but just knowing that you're a safe space to go to when they do make a mistake really is really great because you're going to be that safe sounding board as they become an adult. Another thing to remember is just if you are going to follow through with a consequence, try to give a quick warning first. Sometimes I see parents just, oh, I'm taking away your phone. And the child's kind of like, I don't even know what I did wrong. Like, you know, you want to make sure the rules are clear. They know what the consequences are and that you do give that little warning first. So they do have time to make a choice about doing the right thing. Again, sometimes they'll choose not to, and that's okay too. But you want to give that little bit of warning first. So just so you know, children, you know, when you say no to them and you set boundaries and you tell them things they may not always like hearing, it's normal. They're going to get mad at you sometimes. They might even say, you're being mean. I don't like you. Why are you so strict? You know, that's okay. And it's important that children are able to tell you how they feel about you. So the good news is they love you and you're the most important person in their lives. And so whatever feelings they're having towards you are temporary. And if you can, let them express them in a respectful way. So it doesn't, you're not allowing them to call you names or put you down, but you can say, I understand you didn't get that candy bar you wanted in the store, and it's okay to be mad at me about that. I understand. I love you, and I know I get upset when I don't get things I want sometimes too. And that's not easy to really be able to handle that sometimes. So I think just naming it for them, letting them know it's okay to share those strong emotions, because that anger has to go somewhere, right? And they're either going to talk about it or they're going to maybe act it out in other ways. So it is important that you help them learn how to manage some of those emotions, and just, if you can, try not to take too much of that personally. All right, so it's always better, of course, to prevent misbehaviors than deal with it once it happens. So a couple ideas on preventing situations. One of them is actually try to understand what developmental stage your child is at, because often what we think is, quote, bad behavior, even though there is no bad behavior, it's just, you know, children not making the choice we want. It may be an unsafe choice. So, but what looks like misbehavior can actually be really normal for their age. So, for example, you know, I don't know if you can see the chart. It's a little hard to read, but for example, from birth to 1 year, this is from Erickson's 8 psychosocial stages. They're developing that trust between you and them. Is the world safe? Can I rely on people around me? When they become teenagers, they're starting to form relationships with other people their same age, and it's really important for that to happen. And it doesn't mean you're doing anything wrong as a parent. It means this is what they're supposed to be doing. So, for example, tantrums are actually really normal for the toddler years, simply because toddlers have not learned how to manage their emotions. Their brains have not developed enough to be able to react to emotions the way that adults do. And it's our job to teach them. So even though I have a master's degree in counseling and all of that, whenever my kids would be going through some new kind of funky phase, I would just kind of Google that developmental stage, and it often helped me feel better. So for example, when my son was in middle school and he's like, "Hey mom, can you just drop me off here on the corner instead of, all in front of all my friends?" I thought, well, why? Like, I'm not doing anything embarrassing and what the heck? But then once I looked it up, I was reminded again how it's really important for them to start separating from their parents and to start developing friendships outside the home. And that's actually really healthy and what's supposed to happen, right? So that they become independent adults. Um, and so it just kind of helped me understand and feel better. So I think it's really great. There's lots of great websites. You can look at First 5 LA has some great tools. Children's Home Society. There's lots of great websites on developmental stages. I won't go to all those right now, but if you're frustrated with it, look it up. And there's lots of great ideas there as well. All right, so another great tool is to say what you want versus what you don't want. So it's so easy for us to say, gosh, why don't you take the trash out when you see it's overflowing? Like you saw it and just didn't do it. So what you want to do is try to say what you need versus what you don't need. So for example, it might be sand is not for throwing. Please keep it in the sandbox. Or you might, instead of saying no running in the hallway, which children just hear the running, they don't hear the no, you'll say, I need you to walk in the hallway, please. So you're saying what you want versus what you don't want, which is kind of easy for us to say what we don't like. So it takes a little practice, but this really works well. It works great in relationships too, saying what you want. Instead of, why didn't you call me? You could say, I really need you to call if you're going to be more than 20 minutes late. So I'm not wondering if you're okay. Right? So another great communication skill. Also, if you talk ahead of time before you go somewhere, that really helps children understand what to expect and what the behaviors are. So for example, it can be, what are the rules at grandma's house? Maybe at our house, we can jump on the bed and it's totally fine, but at grandma's house, she doesn't like that. So let's not do it there. Or what are the rules of the doctor's office? Or maybe, hey, we're going to Target and I know there's lots of great toys. I'm going to let you pick out what kind of ice cream we get. But other than that, we're not buying anything extra today. So that really helps children understand like what's okay and what's not okay. I know when I used to take my kids to the swap meet back in the day, I'd say, okay, you each get $5 and you can spend it on anything you want, but you're not getting more than that $5. And they had so much fun going to the dollar sections and picking it out. And, inevitably they'd be like, well, can I have $6? Because I really want this too. And I said, nope, it's $5. That's what we're getting. But they had a lot of fun because they had some choices, they had some freedoms, and they knew what to expect. So that can really help avoid some of those little power struggles that can be really frustrating. Does anyone have questions so far? We're still going to get to a lot more of the tools, but if you do have any questions about what I've said so far, feel free to enter it in the chat. I'm going to check the Q&A real quick too. Okay, I'm going to close that one. All right, so another great tool, it's real simple, but basically, we naturally want to yell when we get frustrated. We've asked them 3 times to do something and they haven't done it, and maybe they'll listen to me yelling. Well, if possible, try the opposite. What you need to do is physically go over to them. Don't yell across the room. We're yelling because they're in the bedroom and we're in the kitchen and we're doing 20 things. And if you can, take a minute to actually physically go to them, make some eye contact, get down to their level if they're smaller than you. My kids are now way taller than me. Tell them what you need and just whisper it. This can really help kind of keep that respect and just keep the tone in the house a lot nicer. I know it's not always easy to do, but that really does work because kids are used to us kind of yelling and we're like, what? Why is she whispering at me? Another great one, I don't have on here a slide, but it's also repeat back to me what you heard. So that can be a nice tool when you can tell they weren't really listening. But when you ask them, okay, like you might say, hey, I need you to put the dishes away before you start your homework. And if you see your child is, they were off somewhere else and not listening, you might say, can you repeat, did you hear what I asked you? You want to talk, if you can, kindly and respectfully. Did you hear what I asked you? And they might say, yeah. Okay, what was it that I asked you to do? And they might say, oh, sorry, I actually wasn't listening. What was it? And you say, actually, I need you to put the dishes away, please. And so them just repeating that back to you and helps kind of make sure that they understood what you said. All right, so some ideas when a rule is broken. One of them is called logical consequences. And these are consequences that the parent or adult figure gives to them. It's not something that naturally happens in the world, but it can be a nice tool to use. Now, we're not doing this as like punishment or you've done something really wrong or bad. This is just kind of helping them learn what, what things can happen in the world. But these things are reasonable and related to what they did wrong. The consequence also needs to be time sensitive and it needs to be clear. So the examples here we have, if a child is throwing sand in the sandbox to other kids and we know that, that can get in someone's eyes or that's not helpful. First of all, a toddler may not even developmentally understand the consequences of that. But you could say, sand is not for throwing. We need to keep the sand in the sandbox. Someone could get hurt. And if they keep doing it, you might say, you know what, it's a privilege to stay in the sandbox. So if you keep throwing the sandbox, we're going to need to leave the sandbox. Now, if they do keep throwing it, then you do need to follow through. You might gently escort them out of the sandbox. They might leave it. There's times where you could say, you know what, maybe they want to go back into the sandbox. And you might say, okay, let's try it again. What are the rules in the sandbox? And maybe have them repeat that back to you. They may say, oh, no throwing sand. And we say, okay, great, let's try it again. I think you can do it this time. So it's important if you're giving that consequence that you explain why and you follow through. Another example might be for older kids. Maybe they have a curfew at 10 o'clock or something. And they come home late and they didn't call and they didn't let you know. So maybe the next weekend, their curfew would be a little bit earlier. So maybe if they're half an hour late, their curfew is half an hour earlier the next weekend. Generally, though, we want to limit these. We don't want to focus on giving these kinds of consequences a lot because we really don't want it focused on punishment. We want it focused on the behaviors that we need. So again, I added in here time sensitive because only a little bit of time can be very effective. So maybe even removing a phone privilege for half an hour and then they get it back can work really well. And again, it's not, I'm taking this away, you didn't do this right. It's like, hey, this is, if this is a privilege that is not getting respected. And so we're going to need to remove that privilege for a short period of time. We do always want to give them a clear idea of how long. So I don't like when parents say, I'm taking your phone away and I'm just going to give it back whenever I feel like it. That makes children feel it kind of takes away their motivation. So you do want to try to be clear about if they need to earn a privilege back, what that looks like. So so we have a couple more tools here. Another one is creating a diversion. And this can work really great for mostly younger children, of course, but sometimes toddlers are having a temper tantrum over something. But the nice thing with young kids is they can shift their attention very easily and quickly. So maybe they're mad about that, candy bar in the grocery aisle, but then you can say, hey, come help me pick out what kind of fruit we're getting today. Or maybe they're mad about the TV getting turned off and they didn't want it shut off. You could say, you know what, let's go out and look at the moon, or let's go do whatever it is. You could come up with lots of different things, but creating that diversion can sometimes, instead of having that big power struggle over that one thing, that diversion sometimes can work really quickly. Another great tool is problem solving together. And this is when the child is a little bit older, but you could start pretty young if they're, verbal and they seem like they have some problem solving skills. This is describing what the situation is and then asking them what they think the solution might be. So this could be, hey, we're having a really hard time getting out the door on time in the morning. And I'm not sure what to do about it because I really want to get to work on time. And I know you guys need to be at school. I know with COVID, it's a little different now, but ask them, what do you think might be a good thing that we could do to help fix this problem? And you might be really shocked at the great solutions your children come up with. So I've shared this story before, and if you've been at one of my workshops before, I apologize, but it's a great example of how this tool works. So one night I came home from work and was making dinner, and my son was playing video games, which was fine because he had done his chores and he'd done his homework, which were the rules. So I wasn't doing anything wrong. But when I came time for dinner, I said, "Hey, dinner's ready." He's like, "Okay, Mom, I'll be there in a little while." And I wasn't real happy about that because dinner's only hot for a certain amount of time. I'd gone to a lot of work to make dinner. Of course, I was hungry at that point and I wanted to spend time with him. I didn't like that he didn't come right when I needed him to come. So the key with problem solving together is talking about it later when you're calm. Because when you're angry or mad or upset, you're not really going to be in that problem solving mindset. So I sat him down later that night and I said, "Hey, I really like having dinner with you. I've been gone all day. You've been gone all day. What can we do about this?" And the important thing is to listen, because there's always something that we don't understand usually about a situation. Even if we think in my situation, I'm like, I was there. I know what was going on from his perspective. He just wanted to keep playing his game. But once I was able to actually listen to where he was coming from, I learned a lot and he came up with a great solution. So he shared, "Well, Mom, I thought it was okay to play the games. And at that time, and I play with a whole group of friends. And if I leave, we might lose the game. And then I can't play with that group of friends. Usually the games," he explained all this stuff I didn't know in that whole video game world, but like the games generally take anywhere from like maybe half an hour to up to like an hour once we start a game. So he's like, "How about if before I start a game, I ask you if that's okay?" And then he did share. Sometimes dinner's ready at 6 o'clock. Sometimes it's ready at 7. I don't always know. So he felt torn when he was in that game to either stop the game and disappoint his friends or come with me. And he was, not quite sure what to do about that. So anyway, I learned a lot kind of listening to where he was coming from and kind of putting my ego down a little bit to listen. And that worked really well. He would come and ask me, "Hey, Mom, is it okay if I start a game? Do you know about what time dinner is going to be ready?" I also told him, I said, "I'll do a better job of letting you know ahead of time when I'm starting dinner." So, so it was a great solution. And I think if I had just gone in and immediately thought punishment, "Oh, let me just unplug that video game. How dare he, how dare he not come when I tell him," I wouldn't have learned those important tools and we wouldn't have come up with that great, respectful solution. And what do we want? We want our kids to be problem solvers in the world. We want them to be creative. We want them to be able to think outside the box. And if we're always thinking of the solution, we're always telling them what to do, then they don't have that opportunity to come up with some great ideas. So hopefully you guys can try this. You may already have tried these, but that one works really great. Another great tool is natural consequences. Just looking at the time, make sure we're not going over. Okay, I'll try to speed up a little bit. All right, this one is natural consequences are things that actually happen in the real world without us interfering at all. And we can start to allow these things as our children get older. So I'll read the definition here. Natural consequences work well when a consequence happens on its own without parental interference and leads to a result that is physically and emotionally safe without shame, hurt, or health risk. So obviously when you have like a baby, you're not going to allow natural consequences because we want to keep them safe. But sometimes we take that a little too far as our children get older because we're used to protecting them all the time, but sometimes it's okay to allow things to happen because that's really the best way to learn, right? Someone might have told us 20 times we need to bring a rain jacket, but when we actually go and it rains and our clothes are wet and we're uncomfortable, we remember that a lot more than our mom yelling at us for that. Unfortunately, that's just sometimes how we all learn. And I have this laundry picture in here because one example, again, with my son was as my kids were getting older and I started to teach them how to do their own laundry. Um, there was one weekend where my son, I could see, was just choosing not to do his laundry. And in my head, I was like, oh no, he's not going to have clean clothes for school on Monday. This is kind of freaking me out. I really want to go in and just do it for him. But I was trying to teach him that, to be responsible for his own things. And so sure enough, that laundry was not ready Monday morning. And but it was a consequence that he learned from. And sure, Monday morning, he's like, oh my gosh, I don't have clean clothes. I tried, the key with this is not to make them feel worse. You want to just support them. Oh, wow, that must be really hard. You don't have clean clothes. What do you think you might do about that? He's like, oh my gosh, I'm going to do it when I get home from school tonight. Sure enough, he did the laundry when he got home that night. But if I had jumped in there and done it for him, done the laundry while I was at school, he wouldn't have really felt the results of his own actions. So it is okay to start to allow these things as long as it's not physically hurting them. All right, another great idea is we used to call them timeouts. Now we're calling it more of a time in. It's not meant to be, you need to go sit in the corner, you're being bad. It's actually creating a calming space or a calming area. With a lot of the clients I've worked with, I have them pick a safe space in their home that they can go to if they're getting really upset. So, I've had clients that are punching holes in walls, they're doing a lot of property damage. And I say, hey, it's okay to be mad. I get it. But when you punch a hole in the wall, it's just going to be something you have to fix. So let's figure out how to manage those emotions a little bit. I put this picture in here. We can't always create that little perfect environment there, but you can't see all of it, but there's a poster up there with different calming strategies. There's a feelings chart, and you can help them regulate their emotions a little bit. So you might say, hey, I can see you really got upset about what happened. Would you like me to sit with you to help calm down a little bit? Or would you like some alone time? So sometimes kids need different things. We don't always want to assume. Sometimes they actually need to connect with you. So sometimes the kids are acting out because they just really want that connection. And so if they just get even that 5 minutes of time with you, they often start to calm down. They don't feel that need to react so much. Another great idea is actually teach them how to fix a situation. It would be nice if our children came in this world already knowing how to do everything, but unfortunately they don't. So when they do make a choice that you're not happy about, see if, especially if they're younger, say, would you like me to go with you and help fix this? So an example is if they stole something from the store, a lot of kids try to steal gum or whatever. It's okay. You just, what you do, just physically taking them to return the item and apologize to the store manager with them is very powerful. So I had a client that was stealing items from all the grocery stores around his neighborhood, and he actually was banned from most of the stores. And so what we did was we had him, I asked his dad to check his backpack when he got home to see if there was anything that he had taken. And if he had taken it, both of them would go back and return the item. And he had to do this about 3 times. But after that, the child realized, I'm not going to be able to keep the item. It's not okay to steal. And I told the dad, I said, I know it's hard. Don't get mad. Don't get upset. But we're going to show him, because what he was doing before was allowing him to keep the item. He knew it was taken, but he didn't. He would yell at him or get in trouble, but he still got to keep the item. So actually returning it was really powerful for them. So just helping them come up with ideas to fix it is really great. If your child is getting really aggressive or out of control, maybe they're that child hitting a bunch of kids at a party and they're just not stopping, you can give them a warning. Hey, we're going to need to leave if you keep up that behavior. And if they do, you might just need to gently take them out of there. So you can either maybe sit in the car for a little bit to calm down and say, do you want to try to go back into the party for a little bit? Let's try this again. maybe talk to them about what was happening. Why did you feel like you needed to do that? If they're able to verbalize that. Sometimes you might have to go home, but you hopefully can try it again. Generally, if you do this, children remember this, and you may only have to do that once. That's kind of a last case scenario, but that does work sometimes. Also limiting privileges, but in a way where they see that they can earn those back. So, and you can do that by using those when and then statements. Let them know how it can be earned. So for example, when your toys are put away, then you may watch TV. Or when the dishes are done, you may go out with your friends. So you're not saying no, you're telling them you can have that privilege, but there are things that have to be taken care of first. I even do this to myself sometimes. When I go for my walk, then I get to go watch my TV show or whatever it is. Because we do want to teach children they can't always have everything they want all the time. You know, there are important good things to do in life first. So, and privileges are great, but that's exactly what they are, privileges. So it can be nice for them to learn to take care of those responsibilities first. All right, just a couple, we're almost done here. Thanks you guys for being part of this and listening. It is good to use those I messages. It's okay to share how you feel as a parent. You know, children are naturally, we call it self-centric, not self-centered, but you know, just like all of us are, the world revolves around the way we think, and that's how we all are. But if you explain how something makes you feel from your perspective, it helps them understand how their behaviors impact other people. So you can share, I mean, children are not responsible for how we feel, but you can share, I felt scared when you ran into the street without holding my hand because I want you to be safe. Or I felt scared when you came home late and didn't call because I wasn't sure if you were safe. It's okay to share your feelings as well, as long as it's done in a way that's respectful. And then if you can, try to take time every day to play with your child, even if it's just 5 or 10 minutes, where you put those phones down, you make that eye contact. And even when you're returning from work, if possible, just take a couple minutes before you start moving into other tasks like making dinner or you know, checking the mail, that they know they're number one. Sometimes when parents come home and the first thing they do is check the mail, the child's like, I haven't seen you for 10 hours and that's the first thing you do. Like, I don't feel that important to you. I know it's simple, but sometimes those little shifts can really help them feel like they're the most important person. And then just know that your words have a lot of power. And you can either speak hope into them or speak, you know, not so good things. And sometimes it feels like you don't know the outcome. You don't know if they're becoming a great person, but just you telling them makes them believe it. So your children believe what you tell them, and you have a lot of power to speak success for them. So tell them the great things you see about them, because they may not believe it in themselves, and it's going to take you to tell them first. And just a reminder, try to tell your child every day that you love them, even if you had a bad day. Give them those hugs. I know sometimes we feel like, well, they know I love them. You know, everything I do is for them, but I did include this in here because I was in a session with the family and a teenage son told the mom, I feel like you don't love me. And she said, well, what are you talking about? I work 3 jobs for you. You know, look, I brought you here today. Like, I do so much for you. How can you say that? And he literally said, you never tell me that you love me, and you never give me hugs anymore. And I thought, wow, how powerful, straight out of his mouth. Like, what I just thought, I was so proud of him for saying what he needed, and that the mom was able to hear it and listen. And sometimes we think we're showing them that they're loved, but unless we say those words and unless we give them that healthy affection, they may not. So it is good to be that example. And even if, like, you weren't raised that way, maybe your parents weren't very affectionate, or you didn't hear I love you very much, that's okay. I know you can even say, sometimes it feels uncomfortable for me because my parents weren't real lovey-dovey, but I know it's important, and so I want to tell you that I love you. It does get more comfortable the more you do it, if it is something that isn't really natural for you. All right. And then just quick question. Do you guys think that that self-control and discipline happens overnight? I don't know if you want to answer in the chat or I don't think you're unable to unmute yourself, but maybe answer in the chat. Thank you. Mio Sadi said no.